if there's one thing I love about LEGO, it's making custom sets. You'll see this all over my channels, but one thing that's fairly difficult about making custom sets is that sometimes the minifigures just aren't available for what you're building. I ran into this exact issue when I was planning out my Iconic Video Games 3 for Tommy C. Bricks. I really wanted to tap into the Spider-Man games as the storyline is one of my favourites that Spider-Man has ever had. But the problem is most of my models centre around minifigures, and although LEGO have made minifigures from the Insomniac Spider-Man universe, both of them have been extremely difficult to get a hold of. One of them was only available as a Comic-Con exclusive, and one of them was only available for completing the first game and sending an application off to LEGO. So it's safe to say, unless you're planning on dropping a couple of thousand on these guys, you ain't getting them in your hands today. But with the release of Spider-Man 2, I was actually wondering whether they were going to give us Spider-Man 2 sets. Considering the No Way Home sets gave us a newer version of the Andrew Garfield suit, which was also previously a Comic-Con figure. The suits from the game are slightly different, so I did at least expect one set based on the video game. But alas, the video game released back in October and we still haven't seen anything. But as recently I have got into high quality customs, I was interested to see if any of my favourite companies would go about making the Spider-Man 2 suits, and was surprised to see that nobody really wanted to do it. There were one or two big names, but they were doing it in a style that I didn't particularly like. In steps a new custom company called Corefigs. They seemed to want to do these Spider-Man 2 suits, and not only that, put them in the style of collectible minifigures. So they were slightly more detailed than your traditional minifigure, but there were no crazy molds or anything like that. So after a bit of back and forth, they decided to send me out their Spider-Man 2 Advanced suit, as well as their symbiote variation for you guys to take a look at. They haven't paid me to say anything, but I did get these figures sent for free, and it's safe to say that I'm thoroughly impressed. To say these minifigures blend with regular minifigures is an understatement. Looking at this minifigure compared to the minifigure we saw from the collectible minifig series, there is virtually zero difference apart from the printing on the back of the legs, which if you know traditionally LEGO just don't do. But honestly, if they hadn't have done that, there would be literally no difference between this and a regular Marvel CMF. Now obviously it's a different suit, but the details on this just look amazing. There's something about the white details on this suit that make it really unique and make it quite high on my Spider-Man suit tier list. I especially like that unlike most Spider-Man figures, this is actually printed on a blue torso as opposed to a red one. Even though the shoulders are distinctly red, which is why most minifigures do this, the blue torso just helps differentiate this Spider-Man in a line of Spider-Man figs. These prints are done in the exact same way that LEGO would print their figures, so the quality is top notch. These are even printed by one of my favourite companies, Jack-a-Brick, and honestly when I found that out I know I was in good hands. To my surprise, the figure does actually come with a few accessories, one being a different printed head with slightly more closed mechanical eyes, and another being a spare arm that looks like it's infected with symbiote. Now unfortunately there are no mechanical legs included with this figure, and they're not exactly that prominent in the game, so it doesn't bother me all that much. And with a bit of creativity you can build some yourself, but really I think that neck bracket ruins the look of this figure. So for me, I think I'm just going to leave them off. But going back to more of the positives, they did also send me out their symbiote suit, and I must say, the fact that LEGO didn't go ahead and make Spider-Man 2 sets was a prime missed opportunity. It really does feel like LEGO's been giving us nothing but excuses when it comes to giving us another symbiote suit from Spider-Man, considering the only time they've actually given us an official version of the suit was a Comic-Con exclusive. But this version of the symbiote suit is completely different to that original comic book one, and although LEGO's one definitely wouldn't have been as good as this, I don't think anybody would have complained that they were getting another symbiote suit. This one by Core, even though it may be hard to see, is actually printed on every surface. The arms, the legs, even the side legs have really nice thin grey details, adding a lot more definition to the suit and even making it look like the original one might still be under there. And the way the back of the head just looks all organic really makes it feel like a different version of this figure. Speaking of which, like this figure, it also comes with a few accessories, this time in the form of two different printed heads. We have this one which makes it look like the symbiote suit is taking over the red suit, which I think is a really nice detail. The one thing I also like about this head print specifically is they've printed a completely different colour on top of a black head, which if you didn't know, traditionally LEGO do struggle sometimes to print lighter colours onto darker ones. Skin tone and other bright colours on black torso prints can look really off sometimes and not match the other parts of the minifig, but putting the red and blue suit next to the symbiote one, you can see there's virtually no colour difference. The other version just seems to be a more detailed version of the regular head, looking slightly more angry considering this is the symbiote suit. Adding these little spikes around the eyes really does make this look more like Venom, really differentiating this suit from say the classic one. Again, another reason that LEGO should have just made sets based on this game. It's safe to say that these two figures have really impressed me. Not only do I think that they're fantastic customs, I also think the traditional LEGO market would also really like these. I like these two figures so much that I actually went out and bought the Miles Morales figure just to show off to you guys in this video. And like the other two, this one is amazing as well. The printing details, like the other two, are nice and crisp, once again is printed on every surface, and not only that, like the other two, also comes with another head variant with a slightly angrier expression, and another arm that represents some battle damage. But this wouldn't be an honest review if I didn't mention some some of the negatives that I feel with these figures, and even though I don't think that a lot of them are a big deal, they're still good to know. For starters, even though I like the inclusion of another printed arm, I never see myself taking the arms off of these figures and replacing them for the variant. When you rip a minifigure's arm on and off, the torso can become really weak, making the arm feel really loose within the socket, and I really wouldn't want that happening on a torso that I can't replace. It potentially would have been a better idea to just not include this arm at all, making the figure cheaper, and then just do battle damage versions of the same figures later on down the line, with Peter potentially having a bit more symbiote on the figure, just like we see on the printed arm. The other thing I think is a shame not to get with these figures are unmasked versions of Miles and Peter. These two talk to each other all the time and just take off their masks, and it would have been really nice to see an unmasked version of the figure so I could display them like that. But you never know, they might have some casual variants in the works, or maybe they could do some sort of expansion. Other than that, all of these figures turned out amazing, and I cannot wait to start planning Iconic Video Games 3. Spider-Man 2 will definitely be a contender considering I now have these figures in the collection, and if you guys have any ideas on what model I should build from the game, do let me know in the comment section below. And while you're doing that, let me know your thoughts on what LEGO should have done when it came to Spider-Man 2 sets. I feel like both Spider-Man games had so many options when it came to playsets and 18+ ones. Yeah, the games are a little bit darker than the films, but the character and playset potential was just insane if you ask me. And the fact that the only thing we did see were two unbelievably difficult to get a hold of minifigures feels to me like a massive missed opportunity. Let me know what sets you guys would like to see based on the game in the comment sections below, and here's two videos on screen now that I think you'd be interested in.